very important. Now let's discuss some very important issues that we are facing. We face normally in IP. IP is not that much secure. Destination address is used to route a path or datagram to its final destination. The header file contains this. You can see that this header file actually contains the uh, this header file contains the source IP destination address. You can see it over here, and it actually manages the the process or to find the route, and it will go. It will decide the path, or it will use to route a datagram towards its final destination, and source IP will identify the sender actually, so that the receiver knows that where to reply. If you are receiving a packet and you don't know where to reply, you will not be able to reply because you do not know about your destination to which you are going to reply. So these both are very important cases, but there are some issues regarding this. If you are using these IP addresses, one can easily manipulate to get your IP address, or you copy your or clone your IP address, or this is known as spoofing. Spoofing means a sender of a datagram inserts the address of another machine, which is non-existent actually. So it is very much a dangerous thing that you are sending some data. Let's say this is your datagram, and you have embedded the data over in the last. Let's this is your data, and this is your header, and in the header, specifically in the field of address, source address, you have embedded address of another machine. So the receiver will see that the packet is coming from this machine, but the packet was actually sent from you. Let's say this is a you, and this is some fake machine. So the receiver will be seeing that the packet is coming from this F machine, that is fake, but this packet will be coming from your machine actually. So this is normally known as phishing. This is the term that is mostly used for such kind of spoofing scenarios. This is known as phishing, that you basically change your address or your face to dodge or to manipulate the receiver. So the receiver will be thinking that the data is coming from this F. Let's say this is the machine by the name of the father. So the receiver will think that my father is communicating with me, but actually it will not be its father or parent. It will be you on the another hand side. So it will be a dangerous situation in such kind of scenarios where you are using IP addresses. Addresses can easily be cloned, can easily be spoofed. So that is why this is not that much of secure. But to prevent its security, we can use several other options as well. To prevent the receiver from determining this is what is IP spoofing, let's discuss it. Actually, the receiver to prevent the receiver from determining the host from which an attack or datagram is originated, you have to make sure that message appear to have originated from a trusted machine. So do not take the packet if you are not sure, and this mostly happens when you are downloading some app and it is from in the Chrome or any other browser shows you that it is coming from a non-trusted machine. So do not ever download that application. I have already done some mistakes in the past as I was not aware of such things. So I have downloaded some applications from some untrusted machines, and after that I have lost much of my data, and this is because of this spoofing actually. So I will suggest you or recommend you not to download any application or any kind of software from an untrusted machine or a website or domain or web server. So always use a trusted website or trusted machine or trusted server or trusted host when you are transmitting or communicating within a network. And always don't ever reply to those machine as well. If you receive a packet from untrusted email and it was forced into your system or your laptop and it is asking for a reply, do not ever reply on that same machine or same path on the same packet. it won't be good for your machine as well as your data. So it may occur that your data might be uh, hacked or something like that. So you always use a trusted machine to reply and to communicate with. So that's all for today. Let's revise it in a shorter time. IP address is basically Internet Protocol, and it provides a delivery packet delivery service which is mostly unreliable, but it is the best effort in the low cost, and mostly it is connectionless. And the datagram is basically defines, and the MTU, that is the minimum or maximum transfer unit, that is a datagram, and it performs routing functions as well, that is to find the path from the transmitter to the receiver. And it can use several routing functions doing this task. And it includes a set of rules to make the packet delivery more reliable, because you know that this is unreliable. I've mentioned it over here that IP address is mostly unreliable, but to make it reliable you have to embed some set of rules in that datagram or that packet, so that your data has a higher chance to be reached at your destination in a more reliable manner. So that's all for today. uh, you have learned about the IP, and that is datagram in your TCP IP. And this is again the model that we discussed earlier, that starting from the application layer, that there comes transport layer, and in the third layer basically is your, or layer 2 from the lower side, this is L2, and this is your IP layer or your network layer. And this is actually performing several tasks from here. So that's all for today. If you have any questions, please make sure that you ask them into a class in the class, and I will be looking forward to have some good questions on this topic, because it is a very common topic and it has many questions in it. So clear your thoughts and misconceptions, and be ready to ask some good questions, because you know that the more you ask, the more you learn. Thank you very much. I see you in the class. Allah Hafiz.
Bismillah Rahman Rahim. This is the second part of the fourth lecture of the course of routing and switching. I'm Engineer Jafar Ali and I'm instructor for this course. So we will be discussing the remaining parts of the IPs that are internet protocols, that what are the issues that we are facing in the IP, and how we can find the solutions for that by using classful IP, classless ID, and CIDR and subnet masking. These are the topics that should be covered in the IP addressing actually, and I will try to cover these topics in this class and in the next class as well. So this is basically a more conceptual topic, and I recommend you to be focused on this very much. So one was the solution that was proposed actually, is that class full IP addressing, that you have you can divide the IPs in different classes, and there are two categories of addressing basically. One is IP version 4 and one is IP version 6. We'll start with IP version 4 actually. So you can see that in IP version 4 actually there is 32-bit unique address. This IP address is basically 32-bit unique, and the address of the number of addresses that can be achieved by a user is from 2 power 32. A user can get any of the IP address, but this IP is allocated country wise actually, or you can say region wise. So one cannot take or allocate an IP with their own wish. You have to go for that IP that is allocated to your region, to your country. So you have an address pool basically, and you pick an IP from that pool and give it to the user. So there are two notations in which the IP address is written. One is a dotted decimal notation, and another one is hexadecimal notation. Dotted is used in IP version 4, and hexadecimal is commonly used in IP version 6. Now let's get started with the classful IP addressing. So as I've told you that the class full IP addressing is actually 32-bit IP address, and this is divided into 5 subclasses. The first one is class A, the second one is class B, third is class C, fourth is class D, and the fifth is class E. These are the topics, the classes actually, that the standard organization has divided the IP addresses into. Now each class have its own IP range actually. You can get the IP address from that specific range or that pool that is allocated to your country or your region. So you cannot get another IP of America, let's say in Pakistan. You cannot get IP that is allocated to the Europe or America. So you will have to choose from that IP which is allocated to your region. So the first three classes, class A, B, C, are actually allocated to different countries region wise, but the class D and E are reserved for multicast and experimental purposes. So it is possible that you can use IPs that are from class D and class E, and same IPs can be used in the in any other country, in any other continent, by different persons. So these are reserved actually for different experimental and multicast purposes. We will discuss that one by one in the coming slides. The order of the bits in the first octet determine the classes of the IP. I will show you that IP address is divided into two parts. The first one is network ID and the second one is host ID. Uh, the class of the IP address is used to determine the bits for the network ID and the host ID, and the number of total networks and the host possible in a very particular class. So you can find these things from a given IP address. If you have got an IP address, so you can find the network ID of that IP address, the host ID of that IP address, or you can find even the network and the host that are in that class. So using a simple ID you can easily find out that this IP address belongs to which user or which country or which network or which host actually. So this is basically the detail of IP addressing. So now comes the classification of the IP addresses into the classes. You can see that class A, all these classes have 32 bits. You can see the first byte, the second byte, the third byte, the fourth byte. So 8 bits over here, 8 bits are over here, 8 bits, and same 8 bits. This is basically total of 32 bits. So in class A, the first byte or the first 8 bits are reserved for network ID, and the 20 other remaining 24 bits are actually reserved for hosts or users. So you can see that in class A you have a small range of network but a huge range of users. Similarly, if you go towards class B, there are 16 bits reserved for the networks and 16 bits are for users. So you can take 2 power 16 combinations. So it means that you have a good amount of networks and a good amount of, not a good but an average amount of users or hosts in the network. Similarly in class C, in this class you can see that the 24 bits actually are reserved for the network. So if you are in such a region that has a lot of networks, you can get a class C IP actually, because it has a lot of different networks, but the users are very limited. Each network can maximum contain up to 2 power 8 users. So you can see that in this class C, users are the accommodated users that can be accommodated to a one specific network is very low. And in class A, in one network you can accommodate up to 2 power 24 users. So this is a huge difference between class A and class B, class C. And as I've told you that class D and class E are actually reserved for multiple casting, and it is reserved for some internal architecture of computer and networking, and for future use as well. Now starting with the first class A IP. Class A IP has, you can see that the network ID, as I've told you, that it is 8-bit long, and the network ID is host ID is basically 24 bits long. So you can have up to 2 power 8 networks in total, and you can have 2 power 24 users in each network. So you can see that the range is from 1 starting from 1 up to 126, because this is the first network. I have told you that this is 2 power 28 networks in total. So it means that 2 power 28 means 128. So it means starting from 1 you can reach up to 126, and this is total of 127. And 127 actually is reserved for another looping internal loop architecture, or reserved. This is reserved. 127 is actually reserved. So that is why this is the number is from 1 to 126 and not 127, because 127 is reserved for some other purposes. We will discuss that in the class, inshallah, because it is used for internal connection of the network, of the system of the network. It is used for internal purposes, not the communication. So you can see that this is the network 1 and 126. You can accommodate up to 127 networks actually, and these are the users. You can have any users in within these ranges, and you can see that the first bit is actually reserved for 0. That is why the reason it has 7 bits of network, and the host is actually 24 bit. Range of the host is basically 2 power 28. So you can have 2 power 24 users in one network, and there are 2 power 7 networks actually, because the first bit is reserved as 0. Similarly, if you come to class B, it started from 128 and goes to 191, and you can see that we have allocated 16 bits, actually 2 bytes, but in 16 bits only 14 bits are for the network, and 2 bits are reserved for the identification of class B. Actually, this is reserved to show that this is the IP of class B, and the ranges, the users, the networks basically can go up to 2 power 14, and in each network there can be 2 power 16 users in one network. In class C, you can see that the length of the network ID was 24 bit, and first 3 are reserved to show that to represent that this IP belongs to the class C, and with the remaining 21 bits you can have any network. So you have the total networks of 2 power 21, and in each network you can have up to 2 power 8 users in each network, and the range of this class C IP varies from 192 and goes to 223 actually. You can see that the first 3 bytes, that is 1, 2 and 3, these 3 bytes are reserved for network. You can see that there is a huge amount of network available to you from 192.0.0 up to 223.225.225. So there is a huge amount of network available, but this network will be small because the accommodation of each network is very low. Each network can accommodate up to 2 power 8 users maximum. So this is the class C IP. Class D IP. In class D IP, you can see that the 4 bits are actually reserved for the representation to show that this IP belongs to class D, and you can see that the range of the users is very small, but the network is very large. You can see that you can use up to 2 power 28 users accommodate into this class D IP, and the higher order bits are first octet of IP address belonging to the class D are always set to 1110. As I have told you, that is always 1110 to show that this is class D IP. In the last class E, this is basically reserved for different experimental and research purposes. You can use these in your home as well. So this is start from 240.0.0.0 and goes to 255.255.255.254. So you can have up to 2 power 28 users in this network. But these IPs are basically reserved for experimental and research purposes, and it is possible that if you are using an IP of class E and same IP address is used in some other network, in some other continent, in some other country with the same IP address. Some people are using the same IP address, but this is reserved for reserved purposes. Just as you use Bluetooth, Bluetooth is working at 2.4 gigahertz, but this does not mean that you own this 2.4 gigahertz. In the world, several people may be using the same frequency, but you cannot be get affected because there is a huge distance between these users, so it will not be affected. So this was the classful IP. In the coming lecture, actually, we will discuss classless IP. So this is the range for the special IP addressing. That is, you can see that these IPs within the class ABC are reserved. In the first class, 127 is reserved. In the second class, 127 is reserved, and in the third class, 169 is reserved as well for linked local loop. Similarly, you can reserve 192. This is also reserved for local communication. This is the IP that is used in Pakistan mostly. So this is basically local IPs, and this is used locally, not globally. So these are some special IP ranges, and 127 is most popular because this is used for loopback addresses. If you want to check that your system or your device is receiving messages or not, you can easily loop back a test function to check that your system or your device is able to receive the packets from the network. So what does this do? This IP basically originates a packet and puts into the network and receives the same packet from the network. So it basically loops back. So this is known as loopback. These IP is known as loopback. So this is the summary of this topic, IP addressing. If you are using class full IP addressing, so you can see that the ranges are given. Class A starts from 1, not from 0 because 0 is reserved, and goes up to 126, and because 127 is also reserved. And from 128 is class B IP start and goes to 191, and class C in Pakistan this is used 192 and it goes to 223, and class D and E are basically reserved for the future purposes or for research and experimental purposes. So there are some rules before you assign the IP address to anybody. There are some rules that needs to be followed. The first rule is that the host ID or the user ID must be unique to that network. That you can allocate same ID to two users. Every user should have a unique IP, and that IP should not be allocated to any other user within that network. The second rule is that host ID in which all the bits are set to 0 cannot be assigned, because this is a host ID and this is used to represent the network ID. For example, if you are using the IP of, let's say, 1.1.1.1, so you cannot allocate the user this IP 1.0.0.0. You cannot allocate this IP address. Actually, you see that this is the class A IP, and class A has this is the basically the network ID. You cannot allocate this IP to any user because this is for the network ID. This is reserved for the network representation. So this IP is basically reserved for the network purpose. So you cannot allocate this IP to any user. You can allocate 10.1.0.0.1 actually, but you cannot set all the other parameters, all other bits to 0, because this is reserved for the network identity. Similarly, you cannot set all the bits to 1 actually. You cannot do that because this is reserved for the broadcast. Let's say if you are using a network, so you have to allocate 2 bits, actually 2 addresses. This is your network, and let's say your network is 1.0, the first class A. So you cannot allocate two IPs. The first IP should that cannot be allocated is the same IP, because it is representing the network. You can see that this is the same as the network ID. So you cannot allocate this. Except then that you can allocate any IP 1.0.0.1, 1.1.0.1, or any other IP, any other combination, but you cannot allocate 1.1.1.1. This IP also cannot be allocated because this is used for broadcast purposes. If a packet received with the destination of this IP address to this network will broadcast the message to all the users within the network. So you cannot use this IP as a user ID. So this is the summary of all these classes that we have learned today. The class A starts with a 0, class B starts from 10, class C starts for 110, and class D starts with 1110. And class E is started from Tetra 1. Network ID in class A is basically 8-bit long. The class B network ID is 16-bit long. The network ID bits for class C is 24 bits, and in class D and E it is not defined. It can be variable, and it is not defined. Similarly, the host ID for class A is host ID bits for class A is 24. The host ID bit for class B is 16. The host ID bit for class C is 8. So it means that you can, if you are having 8 bits of network ID, you can have up to 2 power 7 networks actually. That is 128, because the first bit is reserved. Similarly, in the class B, you can have up to 2 power 14, because 2 bits are actually reserved for the representation of the class. Similarly, in class C you can have up to 2 power 21 instead of 2 power 24, because the first 3 bits are actually reserved for the class. So here are the amount of networks that can be find out in a given class. Class A has 128 networks of maximum. Class B can have maximum up to 16,384, and class C has actually a lot of number for the networks, because you can see that Asia is given with class C, because in Asia there are several countries. More than Asia is a huge continent, and it is mostly works in class C, because we need to have a lot of different networks. So that is why the international bodies have allocated class C to the Asian countries. Similarly, addresses per network, you can have up to 2 power 24 networks, because there are 24 host ID bits, so you can have these much users in each class per network. There are 128 networks. In one network you can have up to this much of users. Similarly, you can have up to this much of users in one network of this class B. You can have up to 236 users in one network of class C. So also it is mentioned the class starting and the ending IP addresses over here. It was also mentioned in the previous slides as well. So what is the problem with this classful IP addressing actually? So you see that classful IP addressing basically allocate or fix or dedicate the resources for the continents, for the users, for the countries, but it is not feasible, because in class C you can see that there is a lot of networks actually, which we sometimes do not need. We need a single network, and we want maximum user to be connected to the single network. But if you are using a class the class C IP, you will have the reservation you will have the limit of 256 user only. So it will be a huge disaster for you. You will not be able to connect another. Let's say you have another 2 users that want to communicate within your network, so you will not be able to add them, because the limit has been achieved. So it was a very bad impression of this classful IP addressing. So this was the major problem, uh, and you can see that it is mentioned over here that in class A actually there are several. The networks are very small, but the users are very maximum. So a lot of users IP addresses get wasted in class A, and similarly in class C, a lot of network IDs are getting wasted because it is not there are not so much of networks, and there are more users actually. So you cannot create add more users because there is a limit of users in class C IP. So this was the major drawback for this things, and this is there is a solution for this as well, that is known as classless IP. I will discuss that in the next class. This is all for today's class. In the coming class, we will discuss about classless IP and CIDR and subnet masking. It is basically a conceptual class. In the next class will be a more conceptual class, and I hope to see you all in that class. Uh, if you have any questions, you can ask me in the class as well. That is tomorrow. I see you in the class. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.